Major construction suppliers, including the country's biggest plumbing goods business, Reece, are raising prices by up to a third as the war in Iran crunches the shipment of raw materials and puts pressure on building costs. The CEO of the Master Plumbers Association Queensland is Penny Corner with you now. So this is interesting. During COVID, it was toilet paper we couldn't get our hands on. It seems that the smallest room in the house is vulnerable again. What products have been affected, Penny?
Good afternoon, Ellen. Yes, you are right. It is definitely, we're having issues relating to PVC pipe. So PVC pipe obviously requires the raw materials from the Middle East, which is the resin material to make the pipes. So we're very fortunate that we have manufacturers right here in Queensland that can make the pipe here, but obviously we need that raw material. So we're seeing concerns around shortages of material. We're seeing people have bought up a lot of PVC pipe as well to make sure that they can get it at the original price that they were quoted on. Obviously, we need PVC is your only material that you can use for waste. So we need to make sure that we have that, obviously.
Okay. Now, there was a suggestion that this would increase costs by up to 36% on plastic pipes from next month, again, because shipments of oil and resin needed for manufacturing have been disrupted. Is that about the cost increase?
Yes, we're hearing material cost increase from 35 to 55%, which is huge, which is a huge impact. So the manufacturers obviously pass on the costs direct to the suppliers, and then the suppliers pass those costs on to plumbing contractors. So you can imagine if a plumber has quoted a job, maybe a high-end home, a renovation, you can imagine the tens of thousands of dollars that will cost the contractor. So we're really concerned, and we're calling on the government to see what financial hardship payments that they can provide to contractors during this time, because obviously it's not their fault of what's actually happened.
You're saying to me, Penny, that contractors will be stuck delivering on an old quote when the cost of the materials has skyrocketed over the last week or so?
Correct. Obviously depends on what's written within individual contracts. But yes, the plumbing contractors are going to be impacted. And it's massive, all because those plastics are made from the petrochemicals and we can't get those raw materials. I understand manufacturers are looking at alternative options of where they can source the raw materials, like from the US. But again, it's going to be getting them here. And so obviously that is a real concern. And the fuel price and the increase as well it's just a massive impact on plumbing contractors right now, and we're very concerned for them.
The CEO of the Master Plumbers Association of Queensland, Penny Corner, with you, talking about this massive increase in the cost of PVC. She's just quoted 35 to 55% increase on the cost of the raw materials for plastic pipes. That's because of a limitation on shipments coming of oil and resin needed for manufacturing from the Middle East. This is interesting, Penny, because today in federal parliament, there's a special piece of legislation going through to give truckies emergency powers to fight surging petrol prices. It'll allow amendments to the Fair Work Act so that truckies and road transport businesses can make emergency applications for a contract chain order so that they can say, well, I'll need to be paid more to cover my surging fuel cost. Maybe this is something the government needs to do more broadly, to say we need to look at all contracts that are affected by supply chain shocks as a result of this and allow all of them to be reopened, whether you're an aged care worker driving around to your clients at their home, whether you're a plumbing contractor who's given a fixed price to a developer, or whether you're a truckie delivering lettuces to Woolworths.
Correct. There definitely needs to be some sort of relief or concession for these businesses that are impacted, because otherwise you're going to see them either putting off staff or not succeeding and having to close down the doors. And we've got a housing crisis. We've got the Olympics and the Paralympics here in Queensland. We've got so much work that we need to do, and we can't have these businesses impacted because of this situation.
So you're saying if you had a big enough contract, big enough deal for a small enough plumbing contractor to do a big enough bit of work, that they could be stung so hard on the increased cost of the PVC that they'd have to absorb themselves, that'd put them out of business?
Yes, correct. I was with a plumbing contractor yesterday, and he specifically works on high-end homes. He looked at one of his jobs and it was close to $80,000 just on one job. The difference in the pricing that he had been quoted and what impact. If he's got 30 jobs, imagine the impact and the flow-on effect that that's going to have.
What did he say to you about what he was going to do?
He's obviously very nervous. He's concerned, and he wants to see the government be able to step up and provide support, because he doesn't want to have to put off staff. He wants to look after his customers, whether that's consumers or builders. But he knows that the flow-on effects and the costs are going to be borne by him, and we can't let that happen. We need to step in. Government needs to step in and provide those concessions and support.
Yeah, and would that perhaps look like what they've done for the truckies today, which is a contract isn't ironclad in these circumstances because of this extraordinary increase in supply costs?
I think that would be a great initiative, and perhaps that we can learn from the truckies and perhaps look at that. We were originally calling for some sort of financial hardship payments.
Yeah.
For the government to be able to provide, because plumbers are so important, right? They're protecting the health and safety of our community. And if we don't have plumbers, we don't have access to clean water, we don't have removal of waste. And sometimes you forget how important they are until something goes wrong in your home, right?
Yeah, and meanwhile, of course, their trucks run mostly on fuel, diesel, petrol, whatever, and they've got that fuel impact as well. I suspect we're going to have this conversation, Penny, with a whole heap of industries over coming weeks, unless that conflict in the Middle East winds down very fast.
Yes, I think you're spot on there, Ellen.
Penny Corner there, CEO of the Master Plumbers Association. Not just PVC pipes, timber suppliers have warned the price of goods like particle board and plywood might increase by 15%. Steel could increase some products 15 to 25%. Sort of